Hey everyone, this is Ludo. Let's kick off the very first episode of the year. Today, I'm continuing the rebuild of this floor, finishing the joists and installing the floor panels. For now, I'm leaving the left side open. That way, I can still move bulky materials into the room without any hassle. Between each joist, I drill holes to install injection plugs for wood treatment. I place them only on the top faces of the beams, so they won't be visible later. I inject the product using a paint sprayer with a nozzle designed specifically for these plugs. Next, I spray on a generous coat of wood treatment. I let the room air out naturally for a few days. It's not airtight yet anyway, and it's completely separated from the main living space. Back on site, I install a short timber beam on the floor, right where the future stair opening will be. This beam will support both the opening and the staircase. Its purpose will make sense a bit later. Then I move on to installing my 5-in-1 drywall boards. They're tougher than standard drywall when used at floor level. In the end, they may not even be necessary, since I slightly changed my plans for the finish underneath. But at the time, this was the plan. The goal here is to line up the non-reinforced edge of each board directly over the joists. When needed, I trim the widths so everything lands on beams and stays as discreet as possible. I mark every joist with a straight edge and a pencil. That makes installing the OSB panels on top much easier later on. Here, I switch the board direction. In the original design, this area won't be visible like the rest of the room. There was still one last beam left to treat. Materials were stored on this side, so I couldn't access it earlier. Before laying the OSB, I roll out a thin underlay to reduce noise between layers. In theory, it probably wouldn't be a big issue without it, since everything will be tightly sandwiched between the joists and the OSB, but adding it won't hurt. The OSB panels are 18mm thick and of course OSB 3. One key rule when installing OSB: the short edges must land on joists or solid supports. That's why panel size matters when designing the floor structure. I'm using 2.4 4-meter panels and a joist spacing of about 34 centimeters, which works perfectly with the beams underneath. I run a small bead of construction adhesive in every tongue and groove joint. This tip comes from Boisfil, a well-known name on French woodworking forums. One cartridge covers roughly 30 square meters, so it's a cheap upgrade for a solid result. That famous headboard keeps making its way around the room, as usual. If you're paying attention, you'll notice a small gap where the OSB panels don't lock together. That's where the stair return and future built-ins will go, and it also gives the floor room to expand. A few final offcuts to fill around the post in areas no one will ever walk on. And just like that, the floor is done. It already feels great knowing I won't be falling through the old rotten floor anymore. No slowing down here. Next up, I'm moving straight to the level above. I'll see you very soon on RenovHome.